Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Hallyujuku, a podcast about East Asian pop culture from a couple of guys from the East Coast of the U.S. Fun podcast for the whole family. Not really. I'm Peter Rave, your guy over here on the left. Here with me is my tag team partner, my partner in crime, my right-hand man to my left-hand side. Brandon Cooper, a.k.a. Kaz. Not Crandon Cooper. That's your evil twin. Evil air twin. How you doing, Kaz?
I'm good.
Just chilling here. We're hanging out. We're hanging out. We're gonna talk about East Asian pop culture. It's a little late,
Yeah.
but we're good. We're rocking and rolling. First we'll talk about what's new, what's caught our attention. And we almost have to talk about this. We don't have to, but we feel. But I wanted to talk about it because it's funny. Before we get into our individual ones, we have to kind of acknowledge the big one, the big viral hit now, the new remix. RM featured on a remix of Old Town Road, and that's fascinating. Well, it's just a fun moment. It's inevitable, I guess, or yeah, I don't know. It's interesting in some capacity. What was your reaction to seeing this pop up?
This is the laziest version of that they could have done.
Yeah, this is it seemed like, all right, let's get something out that. Because it would be fun to do, but
no. So I will paint the picture for you, right? And I'm gonna drop a lot of names and there's gonna be a lot of weird math. So like a couple of years ago, a very prominent like motivational hype internet hype man, Gary V, started hitting this preach of a hip hop artist should do a collaboration with a country artist, because that'll blow the fuck up. Like that'll just blow the fuck up. It'll change the world. And Gary Vee and his kind of infiniteness in being right about music was right about that. So Lil Nas X didn't initially do a song with a country artist. He did a country style rap song that then gained life by having a country artist co-sign it. Yeah. And that skyrocketed this kid. And then he's now carried himself less on his music and more on his persona, and who he is on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. And as we have been talking about on this show and other people, and once again, Gary V being one of those people being like, yo, somebody should do a hip hop track with a Korean artist, which I've looked at my screen and been like, are you not paying attention? Motherfucker's been trying to do this for the last 4 years. Like,
yo, shout out to Kanye West and A Girl.
Shout out to fucking Flow Rider, who did a song with fucking with fucking goddamn G-Dragon years ago. Like, this shit has been on
as an answer to plagiarism controversy.
It hasn't hit genuineness yet, right? It hasn't been a hip-hop artist who's actually interested in the Korean music scene seeking out a Korean artist to do a song with, right? It hasn't hit that
on a big level.
On a big level.
I mean, like, you can talk about like DJ Supreme collaborating with Dynamic Duo, but that's just a hip hop collaboration, or like there's been other ones, or like Joey Badass and Tableau, but like
Joey Badass and Tableau.
Those make sense just because those are just hip hop artists working with hip hop artists.
The Steve Aoki with BTS and the Steve Aoki with Monster X seems more genuine than this does. This is literally two labels making a handshake and thinking that this virality is going to continue, which I think in a weird sense it will. I think Old Town Road has kind of given itself a relatively good shelf life because of the quality of a person that Lil Nas X is. But as far as a tangible thing, this is very forgettable. This is very lazy on both ends, and I care, but I don't care in the best ways possible on both ends. Yeah. Like, I care because it still holds some significance because, like I said, the level of virality that this has behind the fact of the type of person that Lil Nas X is can carry into even more good karma for BTS because they are also very quality good people. And I think people who are into Lil Nas X for that aspect, for him being a very outspoken, funny, like a genuine person, they'll look at Rap Monster to begin with and be like, well, who's that? And then they'll dive into that, and either they'll find BTS through their personality or they'll enjoy the music, and then that levels, and then BTS somehow gains more levels even though they've already hit end game level content. Yeah. And now we're just the developers are trying, man.
This is trying to get post end game content. Yeah, this is with DLC and the high level raids, raise that level cap, world level 3 or something like that. I don't know. What is that? That's what they call it in Division 2. All I know about Division 2, all I know about Division 2 is what Vincent Caravella says on the Giant Beastcast on GiantBomb.com because he says that every freaking week about what he's doing there.
But I don't want to step on this. How do you feel about this?
I think it's a fun aside thing. I think, like you said, it's forgettable in the moment. It's enjoyable, but yeah, it's another remix of Old Town Road. Like, it's like, and like it's a fun song. You know, if I would say. If I had any versions of Old Town Road in like my shuffles and Spotify, if this came up, it would just be this would be my play of Old Town Road. It's just this particular version of it, but this counts. This all counts as just the one song. It's not in particular like a particularly unique, distinct thing of like, this is necessary, but it's all right.
You know, a weird thing I've been doing because I've been going to the gym a lot more, and I'm a music when I lift kind of guy. I've been doing this weird flip back and forth between like letting YouTube, and I need to get back into like either like Spotify or Pandora or something, just that can do this better, but I'll either start with like a BTS track and then just let it play like random K-pop from there.
Yeah.
And then like at some point I then switch between the Spider-Man soundtrack and then I just kind of switch back and forth.
Yes.
Spider-Verse. Not like the other Marvel Spider-Man movies or the Marvel Spider-Man movies.
No, the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
That is, I finally saw that the other day, and that soundtrack is dope. Like
that soundtrack is dope.
It's fire as hell. But speaking of fire tracks,
also well, before we get into the tracks, I went to New York. I didn't go to Koreatown this time, which would give more gusto to the things we're talking about. But I did go to Chinatown, and I bought a bunch of snacks, which are already devoured. But I definitely am going to go back because there's a lot of even in the Asian markets here, like stuff that we've talked about buying to try recipes for of foods that we want to get is there's a lot of that shit there.
Yeah.
At the Chinese markets in Chinatown. So like I'm definitely gonna go back and do a shopping haul. Like I had to fight myself to just straight not buy some fish because they had some cheap fish, and I was like, I gotta ride the bus back.
Yeah.
With this fish in my bag.
So I ride the bus back to Baltimore with fish, like smelling like fish.
With a live ass fish in my bag.
Get your gochujang on. Get some ingredients. Get your freaking jajang and your gochujang.
Yeah, man, they have like good, like nice looking, like dried ingredients, like dried octopus and a bunch of paste and all that stuff, and then anchovies that I was thinking about buying to make soups with. Like,
I've been on a cooking tip lately, and I've been doing different stuff like cooking recipes from like Bon Appetit on YouTube and stuff like that, or like
I also got a bunch of these.
Nice.
So little gummy candies. These ones are cranberry gummies. I bought lychee, some yuzu, which is just lemon, which is an Asian lemon, and ramune flavored gummies.
Yes.
If you have not had ramune flavored gummies, get on that.
Yeah. But I've been cooking random stuff in like the Publix, our local supermarket or Florida supermarket has like they have recipes like you can like these sheets with recipes and stuff like that. But I've been wanting to do more like Asian stuff. Like I want to finally maybe make some jajangmyeon. The key thing is finding something that I could maybe feed the family. So probably something like bibimbap or something like that. Because that's gonna be like I'm gonna be able to make for the family.
Just hit that easy ass tasty recording. Just put a fucking camera above you and fucking slow down the speed just a little bit.
Yeah,
and just record yourself making it.
Yeah, gotta make some good. I've been craving some of that stuff. I gotta find a good Korean place. There is a decent Korean place in my head up again. That being said, let's talk about new music. Kaz, what's caught your attention since we last?
Not much this week, but I got a song from Davi. I think it's Davi.
Davi or something like that. Korean is Dabi, so like Davi makes sense.
Yeah, it's called "Nothing Without You." The thing that caught my attention about this track is his vocals are really, really amazing. I really, really like this kid's voice. It is super good, and I think we might have had a track from him before, like a long while ago. I'd have to look back at our notes. But he definitely has some really strong vocals. So if you out there are more familiar with this artist, definitely hit me up. Give me some of his tracks and let me know what's up.
Yeah. It's a strong track, like music wise. It's a nice. Well, I would say strong in its vocals. I think it's a good It's just a good solid like cool R&B track or like cool like R&B ballad track kind of, but like with a kind of nice tempo to it. I think it works well. I think it works for what's going on now music wise and what's succeeding. But without being too of a snooze fest, which I think it's fine. It has a nice like underlying beat, but it's still like it's still very much about like this would still play at the cafe. Like this would still work well at the cafe.
Yeah.
While you're getting your iced Americano and your cake you're sharing with your two friends.
This is the one that makes the guy take his fucking AirPod out and go, okay, I'm into that.
It works well. Which is definitely because like the funny thing, summer in South Korea right now, at least as far as the charts are concerned, it's all about fucking melodramatic ballads. And this is not
a lot of OSTs.
Yeah,
a lot of OSTs.
So if you go on Spotify, you can find somebody has a playlist that they're curating of the Melon Top 100. So you can keep track and have fun. Because what I did, there was a lot more before, but when I did, I kind of just started listening to the first couple of seconds of like all the tracks next by next, and seeing how many were just immediately piano, like it's just like or some kind of like piano beginning, some kind of wistful piano or like melancholy piano, like and it was the top 10 straight through, like top 10, and then 11 is Chungha was snapping, and I think Itzy's there somewhere, and then like then there's a Davichi track, and then it's like like back and forth, but like top 10 was all just fucking melodramatic ballads. But yeah, this is definitely not one of them. This is just kind of fun, a fun, chill R&B ballad track, which is cool.
Yeah. Moving on from there is one you slid over to me because I didn't really have much, but this one is by the boys from NCT or NCT Dream, one of the subgroups, and it's called Boom. This one is one of those tracks where I like bits of it, and I don't like other bits of it, like. And it just is like, dang, you like just kind of missed the mark just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it works well, like pretty solidly for the most part. It like the hook works well. Like if anything, like I think the thing that kind of keeps bringing me back in is the hook. It's just that I got that boom boom boom. That's really cool, and it's there, and it's like it keeps winning me over, and then the other parts are like, okay, yeah. It's like
I even think like with the way the rest of the song sounds when you get to that hook and you like the boom 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 boom, like I feel like that goes on a little too long.
Yeah,
like I don't want to count them, but I feel like it should be like 7 or 8. And then you should hit like a little hard re-entry into the song. I feel like it just is like, it feels like it's going to take you somewhere, and then you just kind of have this soft re-entry into the song. Like it just is like, it just kind of fades out, and then you're back into the song, and you're like, oh, I thought that was going to go somewhere.
Yeah. Also, it is definitely weird seeing these guys now looking a lot more grown. When I remember seeing NCT Dream, and it has to have been just like a year ago that they had their last album back, them looking like fetuses. Because this was the fetus group. This is the little, the kids. They're definitely looking more grown now, which is surprising to say the least. I don't know if they're adults yet, but definitely more grown looking. They got taller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid track.
Got taller and better fitting clothes.
Yeah.
If you can say that.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple of songs, just a couple of you only have 2 like major songs, and then another one that I figure I should highlight because it was interesting. But I'm gonna bring back a track that we never got around to. It came around like over a month ago, like a month and a half ago, and I think it just kind of like kept getting kicked down the curb, like getting kicked, like the can kept getting kicked down because other stuff came out, and just because we're so weird with our recording and stuff like that, because we're both like so busy, but twice, just over a month ago, had a Japanese comeback, a new Japanese release, and this one is super solid, and in a way that I think even better than a lot of their Korean tracks. It has a really cool, like more mature vibe, even more than like say Fancy does, and it's starting to give me this is when girls. This started to give me the vibes of like when Girls' Generation started to really kind of like become women's generation. People started like, oh wait, are they really Girls' Generation anymore? And you start to realize that they were grown now. And I almost like, it's funny because I think some of that may have been even with their Japanese releases as well. So So the parallels are really fun. But it definitely gives me those vibes of like the kind of like that turning point when they started to get more mature. And it's, Twice has had some of those moments where like the feel has differentiated a little bit and the look, but the sound has always been very bubblegum pop, just consistently, because it's what they do. Why if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But this is a little bit more of a turning point, I think.
I feel like Fancy had a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but I definitely feel like this is way more of kind of an adult. Like even like when we kind of talk about that, sometimes you kind of have to see the visual with it. The visual is definitely this. Their styling and their way they're dressed and like is a lot more like older than the kind of cutesy girl, very colorful, very short skirts, very like high school, college, freshman style like kind of thing. This is like more of an adult female styles.
Yeah, and I think. I'd like to think that it's very apparent that I like grown women. I like, even in my K-pop. Like if you look around at my posters, like I have Red Velvet back there, and they've kind of bounced off with different styles. But like I have Luna's "Free Somebody" right here. If you can peek this, which is definitely grown woman. I've got Girls' Generation's Mr. poster. If anything, EXID, who have been playful but are still grown women. Sistar is way up here somewhere. I love Mamamoo. I like the letting grown women be grown, like, and be able to express that. I know that it's not always what sells to the audience that they're aiming for, but it does work. Like it is successful. And you can transition that in your career as a group. Hence, Girls' Generation are the prototype.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's once again, it's a pointed thing where we say that, and people might take that the wrong way. That's a very pointed statement at SM, or whoever, like, or JYP. I mean, like, or any label for that matter, where it's like they can grow up. We'll still listen.
Yeah, it can grow up.
I'll still listen.
Like, people will still dig them, especially their fans. So give them a chance. That being said, this is a solid track, Breakthrough. Go check it out. They have the full video, which is fun. I think we're seeing that more, especially with the K-pop Japanese K-pop's Japanese releases. Speaking of Japanese release, I think my other one is another. It's, I guess, kind of a accompanying one, but Taemin, with his most recent Japanese release, just released, I think, for a few days ago. His release of Famous, and it's very much very Tay-Maximus. It's very much that style of. This definitely belongs on a fucking runway, like, or a ballroom. And I'm not talking about Dancing with Stars. It's definitely music made for posing. It's just solid. It's just like that solid attitude and sexuality that Taemin has like cornered, it kind of like throughout his solo career, and it just. So good. Like, it's so good. What's your impression? What do you think?
No, I fucking love Taemin, dude. Like, I don't listen to enough Taemin, and every time I do, I'm just pulled in. I fucking love it.
He'll make you feel things. That's what I'm saying. He'll make you feel things in you.
You know what? It literally just hit me sitting here looking at this video. Taemin reminds me of like a modern style Visualkei artist.
Yeah, like it instead of being like super 80s, it's like super modern. Like I think like visual, even now Visualkei is very like 80s anime. Like even now, or goth, but like, I mean, from a, I'll say this, I'll qualify that from a very outside perspective, just looking at photos on J-Pop Asia. If you have, don't be mean to me if that's not completely accurate. Go ahead and let me know about Visualkei artists. If you have Visualkei artists that don't fit that style and are different things, or hell, even just throw me Visualkei artists that you think are awesome. Do that. Go ahead, throw me. I'd love to hear that, but just don't be too mean. I understand that, but I think just from that far off observation, it seems like that. But this is definitely like a more modern. I think what makes sense. It's still that modern Bishonen, like
yeah. Because he has like this very strong visual, right? And then sometimes it is very like gothy, right? Like even in here, there's all this like blood running down him in certain scenes and stuff like that. And like there's this constant thing of like the red thread or the broken glass and all this stuff. And then like just like he has this moodiness to him, but he's very colorful at the same time and like very pretty to look at. Like it's just so much visual stuff going on that you have to pay attention to, and it's just like I don't know what it was, but it automatically hit me. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking modern Visualkei, and Taemin has fucking bottled it.
Yeah. Yeah, Taemin, go check it out. His latest Japanese release, famous. He is famous. So a little bit of a smaller release. This just kind of popped up on our K-pop. Somebody put it up. It caught my attention. It didn't really get too much traction, but it's kind of a smaller release. It's just a young independent artist, I think, from kind of like putting out her own music. I don't know what label she is on, if at all. But this is Chanmi G, and not a huge amount of views from a video, but it's her song "I Want to Be Your Mother," and it is definitely a different style. So this is like very much like indie rock style. It's kind of like very moody, very. I think I want to say like this is. I want to say like when Hole were doing this is doll parts. Hole's doll parts, kind of like where it's like not the rock out, but it's like that like that slower, girl fronted grunge style a little bit. 90s in a sense. The lyrics are fascinating. The video is very simple but still cool looking. This is a really cool song, and I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on her as like an artist of like, she's definitely like has a very different, very, very cool approach to music, and I think it works well. What did you think, Kaz? What was your impression?
It's like super chill. It's definitely like interesting. It's very artsy.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I enjoyed the music, and then I kind of enjoyed some of the visual of it too. But it's like definitely artsy and interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a cool song, and I have the little. I think it's I have the album like saved in Spotify, so I'm gonna be checking that out. When time permits. But it's definitely a cool song. It's worth checking out. It's like the more indie side of Korea, which is, like I've said, I'm always going to find the opportunities to showcase that stuff. So go check it out. Chanmi G. It is very, very cool artist. That brings us to the end of our What's New, What's Got Our Attention. So we're going to transition over to our headlines. So join us on the flip side. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and variations thereupon. Welcome to the headline segment here on Hallyujuku. where we talk about some topical topics, things going on in the world of East Asian pop culture. We got some interesting stories to discuss. Probably a big reason why I kind of pulled us into recording as quickly. Just because this is, I think we'll start off with a pretty interesting big story, and kind of cool, and to kind of like to look at this, because I don't think we've ever really had big mergers in K-pop before. Or big. Well, we've had acquisitions. I mean, like I would say no, that's not true. We've had big acquisitions like BigHit. I mean, SM kind of acquiring like Mystic and Mystic 89 and Woollim and things like that. But this is a fascinating one because it's two labels that definitely weren't one of the big three. And one of them kind of taking the opportunity of suddenly becoming the big label. And kind of like working with what was always a sibling agency, just because there was always a friendship. So BigHit merging with Source Music. BigHit, of course, being the label behind BTS. Source Music being the label behind G-Friend, Yeoja Jingu, and a couple other artists. And it's a cool merger, especially. It's the two CEOs are friends. There's a great video on Twitter of them goofing around with basically just the CEO of Source Music wielding a lightsaber, whacking the CEO of BigHit in the head while he wears an Iron Man mask. It's just dudes in a corner having some drinks and having fun. So they are definitely friends. And it's a cool like acquisition, and it's going to be interesting what this means for the two labels, because they're still going to be like independently run, but it's going to be interesting what this means as far as like how like what's going to be the steps and what they share with each other as far as approach and
so for me looking into this, right? It is it is to further the I think Exodia that BigHit is trying to build in producing their own girl group.
Yeah.
I think this is a what's the analogy I'm looking for? Like all ships rise like under one banner kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So this now gives Source maybe a little bit more resource in the resources that BigHit has already acquired to further push BTS into the stratosphere that now Source can use to help push G-Friend or some of their other idols or things like that. Because we also talked about how BigHit got SM's former creative director, which is also linked on the side here in Shunpi if you want to kind of follow along with the Exodia thing that I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah.
So they acquired that person who we kind of we kind of dissected is most likely going to be their head creative for helping design a girl group that can do very similar things to BTS. And then now you're going to take in the resources of Source in having probably a list of trainees, a list of female trainees that had either already in their system or that they were looking to bring into their system or just, or the resources they have that they use to put G-Friend together. So now you have two parts of your Exodia that can do that, right? You have your talent acquisition in Source, and you have your talent management in the former creative director from SM. So now it goes into finding more resources to find those idols to be able to do that with, right? Maybe now you can even do solo idols. Maybe now you can. It allows you to not hinder yourself, right? Because there's probably a lot of BigHit, because it started out as a smaller label. A lot of BigHit's resources are probably mostly still spent on BTS, right? And rather than what most American game developers do and split your team into smaller teams to try to fulfill even bigger propositions, they acquired somebody who can help them do that without hindering their already exponential growth that they have.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be cool because like I said, they have a different set of resources. It's also really cool because if you kind of like go back and realize the history between these two labels is the fact that they had collaborated before. They had a group I wasn't familiar with, but if you kind of look up their especially on Wikipedia, they collaborated with the co-ed group 88. They also worked together to debut Glam, which is Big Hit's girl group before BTS, and then that didn't go so well at the end. And, you can look up the history of that, but they've kind of haven't really been working together since then. But they we're still friends. Again, the CEOs were still friends. They were still like, there was a lot of people are pointing to the fact that BTS and G-Friend did collaborate already with that advertisement for school uniforms. I think it was. So it was like an advertisement. So it's like this like nice song that they did for like a school uniform. I think it was a school uniform commercial. But they were kind of like looking to, now they're like, oh, we're gonna get the 2019 version of I was like the I forget the song, but it was that we're gonna get the 2019 version of that, which is fun to kind of like think about, but it's gonna be exciting to see. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to be exciting. I think the thing is if they pull if they top deck these, I gotta stick with my card thing. If they top deck these cards in the right order, by doing these foundation moves to then put a girl group together that could possibly rival BTS, I think that is an interesting play. And I think that would give them so much dominance on the market with everything that they've already learned from BTS and things that they've learned from their past, like you said, with working with Glam.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it was a family song, I think, for Wednesday Family, which I'm going to look the
while you're looking that up, so it's I think it's going to be. I'm not sure what much more they need in acquisition wise, because like I said, and like a lot of the reports say, Source has a lot of female trainees, and they have a lot of experience in what they've done with G-Friend, and G-Friend is really done pretty well. But I think the metric is going to be creating a girl group that can do BTS style numbers, right?
Yeah.
That is going to be the metric. I think that's hard. I don't know if you can always recreate those kind of flash in the pan kind of things. But I think it does make it exciting, knowing the kind of freedom that Big Hit has given to BTS. And I think if you put the right set of girls together, and they're actually interested in making music and being idols, and it's not just a stepping stone to another form of their career, whether it's like acting or being a solo artist, I think that could definitely be something interesting that could have longevity. Because I think that's something that me and you have both talked about, right? We've both been into different girl groups that seemed like they could have a lot of longevity, and then either because of the label or because of the personalities just have not worked out in that favor. And even certain boy groups have not necessarily worked out in that favor. I think one of the longest standing in completion for a majority, but I'm not sure of the future of, is fucking Big Bang, right? Like Big Bang has kind of been one of the longest in our enjoyment of K-pop that has existed, but now there's so much of a dark shadow around their label and even around some of their members that, like, I don't know if we are gonna ever get any more Big Bang stuff, right? Like,
I'm honestly leaning on giving up on that. Like, it's just like it gets, once canceled. There's issues with another member. There's one member is probably would want to quit the industry. And at this point, the G Dragon would probably just want to go solo once he gets out of the military. So, like, So I would say probably could write that off. But I will say so. Before we get into the YG thing, I will want to drop one thing on this story. One of my favorite Reddit comments. Though I think they got the team wrong. That would have made sense for the joke, but I want to look it up. But they probably could have picked a different team. But I would say I liked the joke in one of the comments of this article of this news, which was somehow the Clippers are going to get a draft pick out of this. Which I would say the joke would have landed better if he said OKC, because they were the ones getting all the draft picks. But still, I liked the joke.
No, the Clippers did get a lot of draft picks.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They got a lot of draft picks.
But yeah, I like that. I was like when things converge. But yeah.
Yeah. But no. Like for me, this was mostly just like to make that analogy of like something we would have wanted to last forever didn't, because not necessarily because of because of whatever circumstances. Here, BTS actually seems like it could last for another 3 or 4 years before people just decide to maybe retire or move on to other things of their own accord. And I appreciate that, right? And I would love to have a girl group that I could watch grow, know will do music, maybe initially that I won't super be into, but as they kind of fall into their routine and decide to like start writing their own music if they're that talented or work with good people, like I'm so for that, man. I'm so for that.
Yeah. Collect their Boy Scouts of Exodia. But yeah, moving on to a label maybe not doing so well. Speaking of YG, YG Entertainment reportedly delays Treasure 13's debut after YG Young PD's exit. This is on Asian Junkie. YG Entertainment upcoming boy group Treasure 13 was supposed to have debuted between May and July of this year, but that obviously isn't happening at this point. It's the last day of July as we're recording, or actually just turned into August. But obviously it isn't happening at this point. A recent report says YG was forced to delay their debut due to YG himself's exit from the company after his alleged involvement in prostitution and tax evasion scandals. On July 24th, an inside source of YG Entertainment shared, quote, main producer Young Han Suk, who had control over Treasure 13's debut project, recently stepped down due to suspicions of prostitution mediation, leading to an unintentional setback for Treasure 13. Internally, Treasure 13's debut project has basically been postponed indefinitely. YG themselves gave no comment, though it doesn't take a brain genius to read the writing on the wall. YG Entertainment commented, quote, we have nothing to say on the matter, end quote. Given that it's a YG group, it was likely to be delayed anyways. Like the article. If we're being honest, however, now it feels like their future could be in doubt. YG's current financial situation likely requires them to focus on established talents that are more of a sure thing for return in the near future, at least until things can get sorted out a bit financially. Yeah, not surprising, but I imagine it's definitely disheartening if you're one of those young men that was excited to be debuting soon, even naively so, despite the fact that you're in YG. What's your impression?
I mean, it's just the house of cards falling down. Like I don't know. I know you have your feelings about it, but like for me, it only is bad because like I separate YG from a lot of what that label was, but that label did have a lot of really good talent.
Yeah.
So I always hate to kind of demonize that label as a whole. And we make a lot of jokes about it, but like this is a really, really like just bad situation of something good being run by greedy people, right? Which we deal with a lot in America, but like I don't. There have been things like this in the K-pop industry, but a lot of it has been spread out. So for a lot of it to hit one label like this is going to make a lot of people who are going to end up going back out into the industry. And we already know how like rough this industry is. And for these kids, like you said, who are going to debut in this group, they're going to have a cloud over them if they go anywhere else, right? Because they're going to be attached to this. Their names are already known to be attached to YG. Like fans are very deep in that stuff, and we already know a lot of the fan reaction to a lot of the YG label stuff. They're not happy about it, as they shouldn't be, but it's going to get carried over into them trying to get back at people that they shouldn't. And that's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer because I think the big thing that is the big negative is how it affects these artists, these performers, these people that we've been a fan of, on top of also the people behind the scenes, the just regular working staff members and people that also rely on these groups
or producers like fucking Teddy or anyone else, like
who are, because of like the decisions of some which is and you know, the decisions of many people, but because it reaches far than just a couple of people in the label, but they're gonna feel the consequences of young Hyun Sucks and Seungri and all these people's decisions that is gonna affect their ability to debut. like they've been working this hard for years. They went through their hype TV their hype up TV show. They've been training for so long, and you know they're finally going to debut with a big label. You know, as much as there was issues with the label even before these scandals, it's still, you know, you still have the backing of a big label that finally your career is going to get going. Like you were going to be, you know, then it was going to be coming from the label of Winner and Icon and Big Bang and now this is going to be, you know, you're going to have it could not happen, or it's going to take a lot longer to happen. You're back to the uncertainty when you at least had that semi-solid like finish line. That were not a finish line, but that semi-starting, finally getting onto the starting block. like you had this time where you know that this is okay. Finally, I get to be on the starting block and get to race.
You know what? Weirdly, before we move on to the next story, and I kind of have a picture to paint with that next story that connects like a lot of this, but this weirdly now for me starts to paint a more complete picture as to why Tableau couldn't work there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just the you realize it's that dudes that are macho and toxic, like that environment just wasn't right for him, and why they barely even did anything there. Yeah, if you can understand that. Like, not that, chances are he will never say anything, bad, because you don't want to burn those bridges, because even if
you just don't need to be that person, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like,
you've already distanced yourself from the situation. You just keep moving forward.
Yeah, you just move on. You leave that negativity behind. But yeah, it definitely could see that. Especially as we move forward to this other situation, which is building owned by Big Bang's Daesung reportedly contains illegal adult entertainment businesses. Rep says Daesung didn't know. Sure. In the latest mess for Big Bang and YG.
No. This is how I would probably paint this, right? Is I bet you there's a lot of shit that are in a lot of people's names, right? That YG knows or other people know what those things are being used for, but those people were just told that those were assets that they could have and use.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Daesung didn't know, but I bet you there's a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, and I forgot to, but that's been the back and forth of it, of people, people from the business's standpoint. You can check out the articles. I forgot to include the other article in the notes of a lawyer, I think, involved in the case, a lawyer that came forward to kind of specifically point out how Daesung was made privy to a lot of these things, and made people sign, kind of like was warned about potential consequences and went ahead with the purchase anyway. I'll make sure it's in the show notes, but and kind of like makes a rebuttal to the claims that he didn't do anything. Like, it's, and there's also kind of tax evasion issues, but you can definitely see how they could have not known, but that's still, it's still a thing under his name. And it comes down to either complicity or ignorance, and neither one of them is.
I'm sure there's a little bit of both. Yeah, no, I'm positively sure there's a little bit of both, right? Like you have this thing, and your friends are like, "Yo, I could double that money up for this." And you look into like nobody's not going to look into it a little bit, but at some point you probably look the other way for your friend, and you're like, all right, you're like, whatever, it's you. And I just have this sense that like that's exactly what happened. Is they were just like, just look the other way.
Yeah, and it's still not, they kind of like set things up. I could definitely believe that the things were set up for plausible deniability, or, you're like, don't be doing those bad things while I own the building. Don't. Here, sign this paper saying you're not going to do bad things. Here. Okay? No bad things. Just make sure you get the rent money in. Just no bad things, all right? Give me that rent check. Okay, bye. Okay? But no bad things. Don't be doing those naughty things. All right?
Yeah.
Bye. And then they never saw him again. Like, they just sent him checks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like I said. It's a house of cards that is falling in on itself, and it's just gonna only just kind of continue to go downhill.
Yeah. Speaking of police investigating things that are incredibly important and pertinent to culture, police investigate Produce X101 results because it's not like there's anything more pressing going on. So this has been like, there's multiple articles about this, but I think this just short Asian Junkie article sums it up honestly as much as it needs to be. But there's been a lot of hubbub about, get this, a reality show fixing things and the results. You get this? I don't know. I don't want to blow your mind, but maybe a reality show could have been doing things that weren't completely legitimate, quote unquote, whatever that word means. Like,
so I think you say that, but I think more of the problem is a lot of this stuff has produced a lot of like real drama in Korea, and I think it's overreaction to something rather than a like. I know the Asian Junkie article is being kind of like a little bit of satire, but like I think the deeper reach here is like there's kind of a microscope on the K-pop industry in Korea right now, like by officials, and it's probably something that's being used in a political sense for gain, where it's like, oh, we're not going to let these people get away with these things anymore. So now you say like, oh, was there something weird there? We have police on it. Like, it's probably just political grandstanding at best.
Yeah. And it's funny, and I think you can definitely see that, and I definitely agree on that part. I think my reaction to this is immediately. Honestly, as a longtime wrestling fan, my reaction to them saying, "Oh, Produce 101 was rigged," and my reaction was, "Duh, of course it was." It's like if you're forming a group, you need to form a group that's gonna work actually as a group. You're gonna fudge things a little bit. You're gonna work things to work a narrative. It's reality television.
But even in the like wrestling analogy, right? Like when steroids started to become this really ugly thing, and you needed a very public thing to attack it with for political gain, a lot of politics attacked wrestling.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that was that thing in that time. So it's. You need something to point at that everybody else is already looking at, that you could be like, I'm gonna stop that evil, and it's like, what?
Well, I think that's definitely. Well, I think that aspect, we definitely agree on. I think that aspect. I think I've been even just watching that. It's funny to kind of like look at that in that aspect. It is the thing to do, like, especially like how people are suddenly, politicians who don't know anything about video games constantly asking questions about these loot boxes things. And then EA, but to be fair, EA is still fucking up. It's like EA is still fucking up, still not coming. That was a slam dunk, and you had to come with surprise mechanics. Your bitch ass.
It's like having a party at a friend's house, and you know their parents are there, and there's one kid who's still like, "You guys want to smoke cigarettes?" Like, no, they're right there, dude. Like, his parents are right there. Like,
your mom is serving us punch right now. I just want to smoke with cigarettes. I think like that aspect is definitely like you can definitely understand where it came from. It's funny, but like to just observe, but you definitely understand where it comes from. It has the thing that happens from a politician standpoint. I just marvel at just the fact that this is even a controversy in the first place among the people and among the fans. Like, and a lot of, I think from what I'm reading is just that the numbers and the results were just punched up a little bit more than anything, just to make them look a little bit more like full. At least from a numbers standpoint, that it didn't really affect a lot of the results, at least what they're claiming. But I mean, like, of course it's rigged. Of course these, like, it's all, everything is work. Like, everything is a work. And that's okay, because it's just that it's to entertain. It exists to entertain. I will say, I definitely understand, like, there is some concern somebody brought up the idea that they did a lot of the voting was done through microtransactions. So there's that point of view that I can definitely understand kind of having a concern about. But honestly, I come to any reality TV show just with the understanding that it's rigged. Like, there's like the analogy of like the Unpretty Rap Star when Trudy won. When I was mad that they rigged it for Trudy, I wasn't mad that they rigged that Unpretty Rap Star. Wasn't mad that they rigged Unpretty Rap Star. I was mad that they rigged it for Trudy. Which is the key thing. I wasn't mad that it was worked. I was just mad at the booking. It's just that you can be mad at booking decisions. That's okay. But just understand that, you know, to get all caught up with the idea that these things have to be legitimate. Like, who cares? It's reality TV. But yeah, I think that's all there's to say about that. That brings us to the end of another fantastic episode of Hallyujuku. Kaz, well, what's going on in your world? What do you got going on?
Preparing for the football season. Trying to wait till October so I can pay attention to baseball. But you'll hear all of that on a little podcast I like to call Sports Odds and Ends.
Mm-hmm. It's been a cool trading deadline, I think, from what I can observe. So I know that even the Marlins participated. I couldn't tell you how, but it's just... That being said, go check out Sports Odds and Ends at sportsoddsandsends.com. Also check out DKG Welp at dkgtv.com/welp/podcasts, something like that. dkgtv.com. Go there.
That's one of the things I will soon work on. Slowly but surely, I'm rebuilding this brand.
Yes. Whether Curly participates or not, just take him dragging. To help him. But yeah, he's at King Kaz. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at Hallyujuku.
Well, didn't I tell you? Don't you know?
Hallyujuku.com, kpoppodcast.com is another way to get there. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube. You can find us where you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, pretty much there.
Let me straight, Doctor.
Pocket Casts, all the other places. Like, share, subscribe, do all of the things that people tell them to call actions, all of them. Until next time,
Give it to me straight, Doctor.
hasta los huevos. Annyeong. Fight G.
Why, I think you're crazy. Taemin Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.